Hey everybody, it's Pastor Matt here. Happy Tuesday, August the 4th. This is August the 4th in our family has always been an interesting day because my dad would always joke with me when I was a little kid that he had two birthdays. One was on January 9th and the other was on this day. And so I began to try to add it up about how old he was if he ended up having two birthdays. And I won't share his age, but it's a lot. It's a whole big bunch. So August 4th has always been a kind of a special day. I just remember that was just a kind of a funny thing my dad used to say. But I'm glad you're here. As far as the updates are concerned, what I normally do, as far as going through the list of some things, I'll leave that to the end. I want to share just something with you right now because as part of the "You Asked for It" series that we're doing, Carla asked me a question. It was a question that was actually asked of her. And so she sent it to me. And the question was simply this: what would you be telling folks about the craziness that is going on in our world today? What would you say? And I really didn't have much of a chance to really think it through, but in just some of those things I've been thinking sporadically, I just want to share a few of those with you, and hopefully they'll be of encouragement to you. The first one is this: none of this caught God by surprise. God's not up in heaven wringing his hands, wondering how in the world all of this happened. God not only knew it was going to happen, but if we read the book of Job, we see that God is the one. Anything that happens in this world happens by his permission. And we may have a hard time with that, but that's a God that you would want to serve. You want to serve a God that is absolutely in control, because if there are things that happen that surprised him, then all of a sudden now we have an inept and inert God. Psalm 139 is helpful for us to understand that God knows all, sees all, he's everywhere. We have to be sure that we are digging in and understanding his nature, and that by the Spirit that has been, there there in the Old Testament, but now especially with the New Testament, we understand that by the Spirit that he is everywhere with us at all times. We got to make sure we're recognizing that. Number two, it's put more attention onto what's important. We in our churches sometimes find ourselves really getting tied up on the cosmetic and on things that are really peripheral, what I used to call PATs, or preferences, our agendas, and our traditions. And when this happened, all of those things that we thought were so important about church began to move away. The lesson's going to have to be, though, is that after this, we have to make sure we're learning the right lessons going through this, because after this is over with, we may expect that it's got to be snapped back. Well, some of the things that I'm getting ready to tell you now are some things we had better learn now if the church is going to be strong, especially here in America, is going to be strong. Number three, being together is taken for granted, and now that we cannot meet together, we value and appreciate it when we see our friends and our family, especially our church family. We never ever thought that this was going to be taken away, and yet here it is. But when we read verses now like, I was glad when they said to me, let us go to the house of the Lord. Or we read from Hebrews 10:24 and 25 about not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together. We may sometimes have thought before, well, I'll go next week, or I'll go next month, or I'll do this. Well, now that option was taken away, and and so it allowed us to make sure that we were digging more into our digital presence. Case in point, right here, we're digging into our digital presence even more. So we have to make sure that we're not taking any of this for granted anymore, and that we do make sure that we find ways to get together, whether it's church or otherwise. But ARBC can still be the church without being at the church, because that's what we had been talking about for so long, and it ended up being, yeah. I know that was the sense that I got back. Yeah. But church building important. That's what matters. And when we talk about going to church, we're talking about a building, or I was at church, or I went to church. Think of it as a worship service. And we are the church, with his hands and his feet and all the gifts that he has given us to advance and to spread his kingdom. We have to be and must continue to be the church Monday through Saturday, not just coming to a particular point of a geographical point. Priorities overall have shifted for people. Things that we thought were so important are now maybe not so important, or maybe they have been put in their rightful place. that's always a good thing. The New Testament tells us about things to do and things to think on, especially Philippians 4:8 and 9. Think on these things. We have to make sure that our minds and our heart and our character are focused on the right thing and on the person of Christ. We need to care for others and reach out as we can. That's something we always should have been doing. But, well, I'll make that call tomorrow, or I'll write that note next week, or I'll do all of this, all of this, all of this. We've got to be really, really careful that when we have those promptings by the Spirit to reach out to someone, that we do it, that we don't wait. And we need to look for folks that are rolling up their sleeves and doing something and join them. That's what Mr. Rogers, Fred Rogers, the one who had that television show for almost over 30 years. And he said his mother used to tell him to find the helpers, find the people that were doing something, because we can all pontificate about what we think is going on and what we think are the solutions and pass along our solutions on social media or at the water cooler. But what are we doing to help? What are we really doing to help move things along? So those are some things that came across my mind. So I want to just remind you of some of those things as we have our Vision Fellowship on the 9th, and that'll be recorded for you to watch. We're gonna air it at 5 o'clock on Sunday, either on hopefully on YouTube as well. We're also gonna have it aired at the ARBC Facebook page as well. We're going to make sure that that's in place. We have our church council on the 11th. We have our business meeting on the 16th. We'll let you know very soon whether we're going to do that via Zoom or not. But there's lots of things that are going on. Pray for our budgeting process, that we're budgeting toward Be, Make, Multiply, and Send. And hopefully on the 29th, all of our teams will be able to get together and celebrate what they believe God will do, and that how we can use the resources that God has given us to focus on Be, Make, Multiply, and Send. We have to make much of Jesus, everybody. We have to show everybody that Jesus is enough for us, and our character has to be the thing that carries us through the day, even if we don't have the competencies of knowing how we're going to move through. The character that God places in us is something that we have to make sure that we are leaning into. That's all for today. Thanks a lot. God bless you all.